Hello, welcome to Flower Juice. My name is John McDonald, and today we're going to have a look at our black Kenzan that we got as a sample, but also at our Hasami as well. So these were from Wazakura, which we have an affiliation with. If you're interested in these products, then we have an affiliation link which is in the description. That would give you 10% off your first order. So definitely worth having a little look at. So we really wanted to do a little video to show you just how easy it is to use a pin holder or a Kenzan, but also how good these scissors are as well. So these are basically called Hasami. They're Japanese shears. They're specifically used for ikebana. And you get different ones, or ones that are affiliated to different schools of ikebana. This one's actually ikenobo, but essentially they're the same style. So what I've got is, I've looked for a black container because we actually have this beautiful black pin holder. Now, normally they're not black. They tend to have brass pins or silver coloured pins. And that can be a little bit difficult to maybe hide them in the design. But with having the black one, if you're going to use a container that's black, it really just makes it disappear. So you could use any type of container. This is very much a traditional kind of Japanese ceramic. That would go in there very nicely. The good thing about the rubber ring or the rubber protector is that's going to protect your containers if you've got valuable containers. So that's a possibility, but you could even use like cheap plastic dishes like this. It doesn't really matter. The great thing is that this would just disappear into there. Now this one's actually a little bit wide, but as you can see, that doesn't actually stand out in any way. So a great way of basically creating an arrangement in a shallow dish that's quite a good value price. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to use this melamine bowl, and I just like it because it's got a nice texture, nice feeling. And we're just going to place our pin holder right in the middle. Now when you're using a pin holder, what you want to do is you want to cover the pins with water. You could go just to the top of the pins, or you can go deeper if you want. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that when you put your flowers onto the pin holder, then basically they're going to be in water. So as long as they're securely on the pin holder, they will be under the water by the fact that the water is above the pins. So I had a little look to see what kind of materials I have. I've got some nice cornice, dogwood, which I love. I've also got some nice yellow roses, so I'm just looking for something simple. We don't need to make anything complicated. Now this branch, the other ones I've got are really very straight, but this one I quite liked because it's got a very beautiful line, and I think what we'll do is we will just make use of that. By inverting it. So it really is as simple as placing your material down onto the pins, and then you can kind of draw it to where you want it to be. I'm not so keen on these black ends, so we're just going to take them off. This is okay, but this one looked a bit dead. But straight away we've got something that's really quite interesting. We've got that reflection from our water. We've got this three-dimensional shape with our dogwood, and then we can look at how we're going to put in our flowers. So I'm just going to pick a couple of these roses. And I think this is really the beauty of using a pin holder, is that you don't have to have a huge amount of materials. Now there's no reason why you can't have a lot of materials, but you really don't need to. So now I need to just kind of think, how do I want this to look? I think we could go in a contrasting way. We could keep the flowers quite low, or we can follow this line. I also have a couple of croton leaves, should I say, and they just have a great colour. So let's have a little look. again, I'm just cutting the flower nice straight. A nice clean cut. This is the thing, whether you're using scissors or a knife, what you're really wanting is a clean cut. That's really important. Now normally when we're making an arrangement, we're worrying about hiding the mechanics, but straight away you can see that these just disappear. The black on the black with the water, it just takes that right into the background. You don't really see it. What I would like to do is just add a little bit of conifer. Now the reason I actually got this conifer is not because I wanted to put conifer in it, but I just wanted to show you how well these cut. So even with thick stems, you can actually cut and split material quite well. You know, you don't need to think that these are going to be a little bit limited or weak. They're actually very, very strong. So really, this little bit of conifer that I'm adding is just to create a little bit of a contrast. Now, where I am at the moment, it's very, very cold outside and there's not a lot going on. So the conifer actually is just a nice little piece. And there we go. Just a very, very, very simple design. Can actually move that back a little bit if we want. Just showing that you don't really need a lot of materials. A couple of roses, a couple of leaves. Something that gives you a line is going to really add a structure to your design. And yeah, there you go. Quite a simple ikebana arrangement. Okay, so we've taken our first design to bits. What I'd like to do now is use the Pinholder in a slightly different way. Now, you generally think of these in low dishes, and that works, that's not a problem, but you can use them in taller containers as well. What I've got here is I've got this beautiful hyacinth glass. So this is for basically growing a hyacinth bulb. I found it in a secondhand store, I loved it, it's quite retro, but it's also a good container for using just as a vase. So we can put like a pin holder into the top here. Again, what I want is for the water to be above the pins. So when we put our flowers in, then that's basically going to make sure that they're all in water and they're quite happy. Now, let me have a little look. I need a little bit of wire. I'm going to stick with the cornice, and one of the great things with the cornice is that you can basically structure it. So what we can do is we can create shapes, and this reel wire is really good for just tying things off. So I'm just going around it a couple of times. Now, I'm not going to use my hassami for cutting the wire. I mean, I think if you're cutting wires, you really want to use wire cutters, or you want to use a dedicated pair of old scissors. You're just going to damage scissors if you use them for wire. It's not good. So let's have a little look. I do like this idea of doing something geometric. So yeah, we've got our little round container, but just creating a few shapes. Gives us something quite interesting quite quickly. So I'm just going to tidy this up. These little side shoots are going to kind of distract from the actual shape of our triangle, so we'll take them off. Now, do we want another one? Yeah, let's make another one. As you can see, the dogwood is just really ideal for manipulating. You can make it into circles, you can make it into squares, you can keep it as lines. It really is very, very versatile. The other thing as well is if you have it in water, keep it in water, it will root. So it's actually very easy to turn into new plants. So we've created a few shapes and now we can look at our design and how we want to do this. We could go vertical, would be quite interesting. We could actually keep it that it's more to one side, asymmetrical is quite nice. We could go really asymmetrical, which is also quite fun. Great thing about that is we're probably going to keep our flowers in the center, a bit like the other design, but what you'll find is that that'll really take your eye and this will create a frame. So I think we'll do that, but this is quite nice as well. Depends where you're going to put it, and that really is the thing, is people basically say to me, like, how do you decide what you're going to do? Well, it really depends where it would go. So what I've done is I've taken that stem further over to this side so that we can draw it down and have it more onto this side. If I come here, then I'm basically going to have a problem with the edge of the container that makes it sit more vertical. If I want it to lie lower, I can come over this way. So I just push that straight down and then push it over to where I want it to be. And we'll do the same with our little piece here. So this has really created a framework for our design. We've got an asymmetry, but we've got a repetition of a pattern. Now I'm just going to use the same flowers again. Not for any other reason other than it just shows you maybe two ways to work something. Now I'm making basically an arrangement that is ikebana in style, but there's no reason why you can't use a pinholder to create a design that is not ikebana, but more Western or contemporary, not necessarily in one particular vein. So what I've done with this is really just keep things, with ikebana we tend to have flowers come forward more on a front-facing design. This one then becomes quite a focal flower, and really that splash of colour in the centre also gives a lot of strength to this focal area. Now I could add more flowers to here. It might be interesting to have one going further back. But I think generally we could say that there's not a right or a wrong. What there is just different effects. So I think this would very much depend on where you're going to see it. I quite liked it with just the two. Yeah, do you know, I really like it with just the two. It would be interesting to bring a little bit of colour back here, but I think this is cleaner, so I'm going to stick with the two. So there you go. You can use a pinholder in a low dish, you can use it in a high dish. If you wanted, you could fill a dish with gravel or stones and place it on top. As long as there's a water source that covers the pinholder, you're good to go. So that's our second design for today. I hope that you find the two designs inspirational. If you are interested in using a pinholder, then I would really recommend it. They're a very good tool to have in your toolbox. If you've enjoyed today's video and you want a little bit more inspiration, then why not take a look at this video. Now, this was a video we did when we kind of first started out. It shows you just how easy it is to create a design that looks high-end but doesn't need any complicated mechanics or way of working. All you really need is a round dish, some scrunched up wire, and you can create a high-end design. So hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already subscribed, then why not click here to subscribe, keep up to date with all our videos. We've got a new video every week and we'd love you to join us.